The chill of the Seattle rain seemed to seep into my bones, mirroring the cold dread that had taken root in my heart. I'm Alaric, 46, a software engineer and until recently a happily married man. Or so I thought. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Karina, my wife of 18 years, a vibrant and passionate architect, began to change. Her late nights at the office increased, explained away by a demanding new project. Her once warm embraces became perfunctory, her kisses fleeting. The easy laughter that had filled our home seemed to fade, replaced by a strained silence. I dismissed my unease as stress. We were both busy, successful professionals. Life had its ebbs and flows, but the feeling persisted, a nagging whisper at the back of my mind that something was amiss. The first real sign came in the form of a misplaced earring. A delicate silver filigree piece, not one I recognized, nestled between the cushions of the sofa. I held it up, examining it closely when Karina came into the living room. "That's pretty," I said casually, hoping she'd offer an explanation. She froze, her eyes widening slightly before she quickly recovered. "Oh, it must be Maya's. She was over yesterday," she said, referring to a colleague of hers. "She probably dropped it. It sounded plausible enough." Maya had been over, discussing a potential collaboration. But something about Karina's demeanor felt off. Too quick, too rehearsed. The earring incident planted a seed of suspicion, and I started paying closer attention. I noticed the hushed phone calls she took in the hallway, the way she'd quickly close her laptop when I entered the room. Her explanations for her whereabouts became increasingly vague and inconsistent. One evening, Karina told me she had a conference in Portland and would be gone for 3 days. It wasn't unusual, her work often required travel. But this time something felt different. As she packed, she seemed unusually excited, almost giddy. I tried to shake off my unease, attributing it to my own insecurities. After she left, I found myself unable to focus on work. The silence in the house was deafening, amplifying my suspicions. I tried to distract myself, but the nagging feeling wouldn't go away. That night sleep eluded me. I tossed and turned, my mind racing, replaying every interaction with Karina over the past few months, searching for clues, for confirmation of my growing fears. Finally, around 3 a.m., I gave up. I got out of bed, determined to find some distraction. I wandered into the living room and absent-mindedly picked up Karina's laptop, which she had left on the coffee table. I knew I shouldn't. I knew invading her privacy was wrong, but the need to know, to quell the gnawing anxiety that was consuming me, was overwhelming. I opened the laptop and hesitated for a moment before typing in her password. To my surprise, it worked. She hadn't changed it. The first thing I saw was her email. My heart pounded in my chest as I scrolled through her inbox, my eyes scanning the subject lines. Most were work-related, but one caught my attention. "Thinking of Youth" sender was listed as Anders. I didn't recognize the name. My hands trembled as I clicked on the email. What I read next shattered my world. The email was filled with intimate details, declarations of love, and explicit descriptions of their encounters. It was clear they were having an affair. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. The room started to spin. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Karina, my wife, the woman I loved and trusted, was betraying me. I scrolled through the rest of the emails, each one a dagger twisting in my heart. They had been seeing each other for months, meeting in secret, sharing intimate moments that should have been mine. Anders, it turned out, was a contractor working on one of Karina's projects. A younger man, charming and charismatic, everything I apparently wasn't. I closed the laptop, my hands shaking uncontrollably. The reality of the situation crashed down on me, crushing me with its weight. My wife was cheating on me. My marriage was a lie. I spent the rest of the night in a daze, pacing the floor, replaying the emails in my mind, trying to make sense of it all. How could she do this to me? What had I done to deserve this? By morning, I was a shell of my former self. Exhausted, heartbroken, and filled with a rage I had never known I possessed. When Karina returned from her conference that evening, I was waiting for her. I watched as she walked through the door, her face beaming, seemingly oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. "How was Portland?" I asked, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. "Oh, it was great," she said, her eyes sparkling. The conference was really informative and I got to see some amazing architecture. I said nothing, just stared at her, letting the silence hang heavy in the air. She shifted uncomfortably, her smile faltering. "What's wrong?" she asked. I walked over to the coffee table and picked up her laptop. I opened it and turned it towards her, the email from Anders displayed on the screen. Her face drained of color, her eyes widened in horror. What is this?" she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. "Don't play dumb, Karina," I said, my voice trembling with anger. "You know exactly what this is. It's the proof that you've been betraying me, lying to me, making a fool of me." She started to cry, tears streaming down her face. "Alaric, I can explain," she sobbed. "Explain what?" I shouted, my voice rising. "Explain how you could sleep with another man, how you could lie to my face, how you could destroy everything we've built together." She sank to the floor, her body racked with sobs. "I don't know," she cried. "It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far, it just happened," I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You didn't mean for it to go this far. You've been having an affair for months, Karina. This wasn't some one-night stand. This was a calculated, deliberate act of betrayal." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with desperation. "Please, Alaric, don't do this," she begged. "I love you. I don't want to lose you. You should have thought about that before you climbed into bed with Anders," I said, my voice cold and hard. I turned and walked away, leaving her sobbing on the floor. I couldn't bear to look at her any longer. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, was gone, replaced by a stranger, a liar, a cheater. The next few weeks were a blur. I moved into a spare bedroom, unable to share the same space with her. We barely spoke, the silence between us thick with resentment and pain. I consulted a lawyer and started the divorce proceedings. Karina begged me to reconsider, promising to end the affair, to go to counseling, to do whatever it took to save our marriage. But I was done. The trust was broken, the love was gone. I couldn't forgive her. I couldn't forget what she had done. As the divorce progressed, I learned more about the affair. Anders, it turned out, was married himself. When his wife found out about the affair with Karina, she kicked him out. He was now living in a cheap motel, jobless and alone. Karina, too, was facing the consequences of her actions. Her colleagues at work were gossiping about her, and her reputation was tarnished. She had lost the respect of her peers and the trust of her friends. I watched as her life crumbled around her, and while a part of me felt a pang of sympathy, another part of me felt a sense of satisfaction. She had made her choices, and now she was paying the price. The divorce was finalized a few months later. I walked out of the courtroom a free man, but also a broken one. The pain of the betrayal still lingered, a constant reminder of what I had lost. I sold our house, unable to bear the memories it held. I moved to a small apartment in the city, a clean slate, a fresh start. I threw myself into my work, finding solace in the challenges and the sense of accomplishment it provided. I started exercising again, taking long walks along the waterfront, trying to heal my broken heart. One evening, a few months after the divorce, I received a phone call from Karina. I hesitated before answering, unsure if I was ready to speak to her. "Alaric, it's me," she said, her voice trembling. "What do you want, Karina?" I asked, my voice cold. I just wanted to apologize," she said. "I know it doesn't change anything, but I wanted you to know that I am truly sorry for what I did. I ruined everything, and I know I can never make it up to you." I remained silent, unsure how to respond. "Anders left me," she continued. "He said he never really loved me, that I was just a distraction. I'm all alone now, Alaric. I've lost everything." I felt a twinge of pity for her, but it was quickly overshadowed by the anger and resentment that still lingered. "You made your choices, Karina," I said. "You have to live with the consequences." I hung up the phone, severing the last connection to the woman who had once been my world. It's been 2 years since the divorce. I'm still healing, still learning to trust again. I've started dating, but I am cautious, wary of opening my heart to someone new. I don't know what the future holds, but I am determined to move on, to rebuild my life, to find happiness again. I may never fully recover from the betrayal, but I refuse to let it define me. I am a survivor, and I will not let my past destroy my future. One day I was at a local coffee shop, a place I frequented to work on my personal projects. I saw a familiar face, Maya, Karina's former colleague. We exchanged polite greetings, and she seemed hesitant, almost apologetic. "Alaric," she began, "I feel I need to tell you something. About the earring, the one you found on the sofa." My heart skipped a beat. "Yes," she sighed. "It wasn't mine. Karina asked me to lie for her. She said she didn't want you to suspect anything. I felt terrible about it, but I didn't want to get involved." I stared at her, stunned. So Karina had not only cheated, but had also manipulated others to cover her tracks. The depth of her deceit was even greater than I had imagined. "Thank you, Maya," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for telling me the truth." The revelation, though painful, brought a sense of closure. It confirmed that my suspicions had been valid, that I wasn't paranoid or imagining things. Karina had been deliberately deceptive, and now I knew the full extent of her lies. I left the coffee shop with a renewed sense of resolve. I would not let her betrayal continue to haunt me. I would focus on my own healing and on building a better future for myself. I decided to take a trip, to escape the memories and the constant reminders of my past. I booked a flight to Iceland, a place I had always dreamed of visiting. The stark beauty of the landscape, the vastness of the sky, and the raw power of nature helped me to put things into perspective. As I hiked through the glaciers and gazed at the northern lights, I realized that I was stronger than I thought. I had survived the betrayal, the divorce, and the emotional turmoil. I had emerged from the darkness, scarred but not broken. I returned to Seattle with a new sense of purpose. I started volunteering at a local charity, helping others who were struggling with their own challenges. I reconnected with old friends and made new ones. I rediscovered my passions and pursued new hobbies. Life wasn't perfect, but it was good. I was content, independent, and hopeful for the future. One afternoon, I received an unexpected visitor at my apartment. It was Anders' wife, Freya. She looked tired and worn, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and anger. "Alaric, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice barely audible. I invited her in, curious to hear what she had to say. She sat down on the sofa and took a deep breath. "I know what Karina did to you," she began. "And I know what Anders did to me. I just wanted to tell you that I am sorry. I am so sorry for all the pain they caused." I nodded, understanding her pain all too well. "Anders is a mess," she continued. "He's lost his job, his friends, and his family. He's living in a small apartment, barely scraping by. He's finally facing the consequences of his actions." I felt a sense of vindication, knowing that he was suffering as well. But I also felt a pang of sympathy for Freya, who had been just as much a victim as I had. "I'm trying to rebuild my life," she said. "It's not easy, but I'm determined to move on." I admired her strength and resilience. We talked for a while longer, sharing our experiences and offering each other support. We were both victims of the same betrayal, and we found solace in our shared pain. As she left, I felt a sense of closure, a sense that I was finally putting the past behind me. I had forgiven Karina, not for her sake, but for my own. I had released the anger and resentment that had been poisoning my soul. I was free. Life is unpredictable, full of challenges and surprises. But I am ready for whatever comes my way. I am stronger, wiser, and more resilient than I ever thought possible. I am a survivor, and I will continue to thrive, to find joy, and to live my life to the fullest. The rain outside has stopped, and the sun is peeking through the clouds, casting a golden glow over the city. It's a new day, a new beginning, and I am ready to embrace it.